I was 29 when this happened, working as a junior project coordinator for a mid-sized logistics company in a quiet business park outside the city. It wasn't a glamorous job, but it paid well enough, had normal hours, and, most importantly, felt safe. I've always been the type who likes predictability. I show up early, eat lunch at my desk, leave on time. I don't drink at office happy hours, don't gossip, don't overshare. I keep my head down. This was in late October, right when the days start getting shorter, but the air still smells faintly warm in the afternoons. Our office was a beige carpeted maze of cubicles, low lighting, constant printer noise, and that stale scent of burnt coffee. Nothing unusual, nothing threatening. Most days started the same. Badge in, small nods to familiar faces. A polite morning, exchanged with people I'd worked alongside for years, but barely knew beyond their job titles. That's how I knew Evan. Evan worked in compliance. 2 rows over from me, early 30s maybe, quiet, neat haircut, button-downs always pressed. He wasn't unfriendly, just present. The kind of person who listens more than he talks. If you asked me back then, I would have said he was forgettable. That's what scares me now, because looking back, he noticed everything. The week it started was completely ordinary. Mondays meant status reports and silent groans. Tuesdays were team meetings that ran long for no reason. Wednesdays I brought leftovers and reheated them too long in the microwave. Thursdays were quiet. Fridays felt lighter. I had a routine. Coffee from the same machine on the second floor. Bathroom break at 10:30. Lunch at noon sharp. A walk to my car at 5:12 p.m. because the elevator usually arrived then. Evan fit into that routine like background noise. Sometimes he'd be in the break room when I was pouring coffee. "Morning," he'd say. "Morning," I'd reply. Once when I burned my soup, he chuckled softly and said, "Happens to me every time." Another time, he held the door when my hands were full. Normal stuff. One afternoon, during a long spreadsheet audit, he stopped by my cubicle, holding a manila folder. "Hey, sorry, do you know if procurement codes changed last quarter?" he asked. I swiveled my chair, helped him for a minute, and that was it. He thanked me and left. No alarms, no weird vibes. The only thing I remember thinking was that he always seemed to appear when I was alone, never during meetings or crowded moments, but even that didn't register as odd. It's an office. People move around. On Thursday, as I was packing up, he passed behind my chair and said, "Enjoy the long weekend." I paused. "Oh, yeah, you too." I hadn't mentioned taking Friday off. I told myself he probably overheard it. Offices are like that. Thin walls, thinner privacy. The first real moment of discomfort came the following Monday. I got in early, earlier than usual because traffic was light. The office was quiet, lights dimmed, only a handful of people scattered around. I sat down, logged in, and felt that strange sensation of being watched. I looked up. Evan was standing at the end of my cubicle row, pretending to check something on his phone. He glanced up and smiled. "Morning, you're early." "So are you," I said. He nodded. "Couldn't sleep." He walked away. That should have been nothing. But it stayed with me the way he'd been standing there, still, waiting, not passing through, not busy. Later that day, I mentioned to a coworker named Melissa that I was thinking of switching gyms because mine was getting too crowded. "Oh, which one do you go to now?" she asked. Before I could answer, Evan said from behind us, "The one off Maple, right?" I turned. "Yeah, how did you mentioned it before." he said quickly. I think. When the treadmills were broken? I didn't remember mentioning that, but maybe I had. People forget things. Over the next few days, little comments piled up. You park on the lower level, near the exit. You usually leave around 5:15. You don't like the hazelnut creamer. Each one, on its own, meant nothing. Together they formed a pattern I couldn't quite name. The unease crept in quietly, like realizing the room is colder than it should be. Things shifted the night I stayed late. It was end-of-month reporting, and half the office had already gone home. By the time I shut down my computer, the building was nearly empty. The overhead lights had switched to night mode, casting long shadows across the carpet. As I stood, I heard footsteps. Still here? Evan's voice came from behind me. I jumped a little. Yeah, just finishing up. Same, he said. It gets quiet after 6. Feels strange, right? I smiled politely and gathered my bag. We walked toward the elevator together, silence stretching between us. In the garage, the air was damp and echoed with distant traffic. I headed toward my car. Hey, he called. You forgot this. He held up my access badge. I froze. I had it, I said. He stepped closer. It must have fallen. I picked it up near your desk. I took it from him. His fingers brushed mine, cold. How did you know it was mine? I asked. He shrugged. I pay attention. That night as I drove home, I noticed headlights behind me for several blocks. When I turned into my neighborhood, they turned too. Only when I pulled into my driveway did they pass. The next morning, there was a sticky note on my monitor. You left your phone charger again. I stared at it for a long time. I hadn't left my charger. I decided to say something. Not to HR, yet. Just to him. I waited until lunch, when the break room was empty. He was stirring coffee, back to me. Hey, Evan, I said, can I ask you something? He turned, smiling. Sure. Why do you keep leaving notes at my desk? His smile faltered. I'm just helping. It's starting to feel invasive. He studied me for a second, too long. I didn't realize, he said softly. I thought we were friends. We're co-workers, I said. That's different. The room felt smaller, the hum of the fridge loud. I just notice things, he said. You seem like someone who appreciates that. I don't, I said. For a moment I thought he might argue. Instead he nodded. Okay, he said, I'll stop. That afternoon I received a calendar invite from him. No title, no description, just a meeting time. For 5:15 p.m., my heart pounded as I declined it. At 5:10, I packed up and left early. In the garage, his car was parked next to mine. I heard my name. Wait! I turned. He was standing by his door. I just wanted to talk, he said. You didn't have to involve anyone. I didn't, I said. Please move. You're overreacting, he said calmly. I just like knowing the people I work with. He stepped closer. I locked my car and hit the panic button. The alarm shattered the silence. He stepped back, hands raised. You didn't need to do that. I drove away shaking. I reported everything the next day. HR listened, nodded, took notes. They said they'd look into it. Evan was moved to a different floor. Not fired, not disciplined, just relocated. For weeks, I jumped at every sound. I checked my mirrors constantly. I stopped posting online. I changed my schedule, my parking spot, my routines. Eventually, things settled. I left that job 6 months later. Sometimes I still wonder if I imagined parts of it, if I was too sensitive. but I know what I felt, and I know this. On my last day, as I cleaned out my desk, I found a folded note tucked deep in the drawer. Old habits are hard to break. There was no name. It's been 3 years. I work somewhere else now. New building, new badge, new routine. But sometimes, when I leave work a few minutes later than usual, I feel that familiar tightening in my chest. Because once, someone learned my life by watching quietly, and I still don't know how much of it he remembers.